how did you came up with this idea to get a better understanding about what is really happening in Syria?
Um, I have a lot of friends from that country. In fact, I have a lot of friends across the whole Middle Eastern region. And in conversations with my Syrian friends, they were all telling me that basically what we were seeing in the news, in the media, newspapers, etc., was often quite incorrect or was only a very small fraction of what was actually happening. And because of that, I decided to go and see the situation for myself. So I organised it and I travelled with a Syrian friend of mine. And so what I did was I spent 1 month in Syria and then another month going between Lebanon and Jordan, visiting refugee camps, etc., etc. I wanted to get an overall picture of what was actually happening. And I have to be honest, yeah, what I discovered was actually quite different to what was being reported in the news.
Yeah.
Before going into a war zone, you do a lot of planning, you do a lot of preparation. You
Mm.
don't suddenly arrive at the border and say, "Hi guys," so a lot of planning was done. So for security, for bodyguards, where we would be going. etc., etc. But at the same time, yeah, there was an element of risk. I mean, there were times we got shot at. There were times when cannon shells would hit building on the opposite side of the road to us. Um, but you take it in your stride.
You spent one night in a refugee camp in Jordan, did you?
Yes.
And
Yeah.
how did you feel after that?
Um, it was a very interesting experience because I spent the night in Zaatari refugee camp in Jordan.
Yeah.
It's an enormous refugee camp. When I was there, there were close to, I think it was 130,000 people.
Mm.
So I stayed in the tent of some relatives of a friend of mine. They let me stay. And when you're actually staying with them and you see the difficulty of the circumstances, because what I saw was how it can be very difficult to have enough food. I mean, although it's a United Nations, a UNHCR camp, food quite often is in limited supply. Medicines are quite often in limited supply. Living in these tents in the desert, it can be very hot in the day, it can be very cold at night. And sometimes there are circumstances